Please like and leave a heart. Please.
There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vidor Lucksmith Show. I'm your host, David Gibson, where we are unlocking the secrets to success in the oil and gas industry, one interview, one technical presentation, and one technical screw-up at a time. Great to have everybody back here with us. This is the first show of 2024. Hope everybody enjoyed their holiday, Christmas, and festive break. I know I did. I had a lot of fun with the kids. Went up to Cloudcroft, New Mexico, ate barbecue, sat around, did a whole bunch of nothing, gained some weight. But now, happy to be back here doing the show. Once again, glad to have everybody here with us. As per usual, let us know where you're watching from. Love to be able to give you guys a shout out here on the show and see who all has come back with us for another year of the Vidor Lucksmith Show. Today's show is brought to you by aidriller. Thank you very much to our sponsors over at aidriller for bringing us helping put together today's show. Oh, hold on just a sec. Tracy, could you close the blinds right there? The sun is shining right off of the back of your car. There we go. Sorry, sun was like, it's hard to podcast with the sun in your eye, right? Anyways, yeah, thank you guys for being here with us for a whole new year, a whole new season. We're going to have an absolutely amazing year with the show. I'm going to do my best to make sure that we've got a show every single Friday at 10 a.m. and be able to bring you guys some of the best guests and some of the best content possible. So there we go. All right. As of right now, we've got Eric, who's watching from sunny south of France. We haven't got anybody to tune in from LinkedIn. If LinkedIn is working, guys, let me know. I don't know, maybe sound, or if it's not distributing over that way, maybe Tracy can give me a heads up and tell me how many people we got watching over there.
5.
Oh, okay. So we do have people watching over there. Okay, it's working. All right. Well, thank you guys. Here's what we'll do. We've got our sponsorship information here. Let me get back into the run of things here. So if you guys are interested, we're going to be giving away we actually have some really good swag from aidriller. I want them to stop by their office the other day. So we got one of these cool little Yeti style, no, it's Arctic. Sorry, Arctic cups. That's what came in that box, so I don't even need. And then I've got a pen and like one of their notepads, but also, of course, a Gibson drill bit. So if you guys are interested in being able to win one of those, put in hashtag aidriller into the comment section now. If you enter it in for your chance to be able to win. And here is a quick word from our sponsor.
Girl, I wanna hear you whisper it. Girl, I whisper it. Girl, I wanna hear you whisper it.
And that was brought to you by our team over at aidriller. Thank you so much to those guys. All right. As I said, anytime and you won't, put it into the comment section now. Hashtag aidriller. All right. Without further ado, let me fix this thing. There we go. Without further ado, we'll be bringing on our guest of the day, Mr. John Howard. John, thanks for being here, sir. Do appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Real excited to be here. Thank you.
All right. Well, we will jump into it. So it is January, so the season is upon us of SPE papers. So before we jump into that, though, give us a little background on who you are and what you do, sir.
Okay, so I am here in my SPE capacity. So I am the drilling specialty chair for the 100th anniversary of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, ATCE. The ATC is for the Annual Technical Conference and Exhibition, normally known as our fall show. And that's our big show that we have once a year. And I've been on the drilling committee and writing papers and doing various things for various years. And it's the Peter principle involved. I've now been promoted to a point where I'm still trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. And then fortunately, you'll be able to step in next year and take over as the chair, since you're the chair-elect this year. But we're very excited. The conference is going to be the 23 through 25 September. And the main thing that I want to bring up today, and we'll bring it up a couple different times, abstracts are due the 19th of February. There's a link on here where you can submit abstracts. So highly encourage it. And that's what we're here to talk about. On a personal basis, I've been a SPE member now for, this will be my 44th year as an SPE member. And I am vice president, one of the co-founders of ATCE Well Experts, which specializes in drilling, casing, cementing, casing and tubing analysis, both software development, engineering, help various companies around the world with their casing and tubing design guides. And it's very exciting. But I'm here today. We'll do another show later talking about casing and tubing. Here today, we're here to talk about the SPE.
Okay, so you told me that you are the SPE. What? I can't even remember your title.
Drilling, you're the chair elect, so you're gonna have
yes,
to learn.
I'm the chair elect. I know I'm the elect.
It's the drilling specialty chair.
Drilling specialty coordinator. Okay.
There you go.
So what does that mean in and of itself? And kind of like, I guess, what's the food chain there within the, I guess, the volunteer side? Because obviously SPE has their structure, but what's the kind of the structure there on the volunteer side of, and what does that mean in regards to ATCE?
Okay, so the ATCE happens once a year. It happens in various places, and this is our 100th year. We have the motto "Les bon temps rouler," which is "Let the good times roll." And New Orleans is a fantastic place to have it. So there are SPE volunteers that will run this whole thing. The organizer or chair of the entire SPE is Susan Howes. So she's come up more from the production side. She's president of SCA and been very involved and done an absolutely brilliant job getting it set up. And then one of my personal heroes who was on your show last year, along with Joe Shine, is Sarah Kern. She is the vice chair. So she will be the chair for 2025. That will be held 6 through 8 October, but I don't think they've finalized a location yet. And then I've heard it may be in Dubai in 2026. They work with various drilling specialties. So you've got Susan and Sarah running the show. And then from the coordinators, you have various drilling specialty coordinator, which is myself, but we also have a completions coordinator, projects, facilities, and construction, health, safety, environment, and sustainability, data science and engineering analytics, production operations, and then reservoir. And then they have different subgroups work underneath them. And we're very lucky that we have one of the most stud drilling groups around. We've got 20 people in our group with a tremendous amount of activity. Thomas Dahl has stepped up as the chair. He's based in Celle, Germany with Baker Hughes, has a tremendous amount of experience. Jan Breckel, who was formerly with Shell and the research and R&D group in Reichslag, is our vice chair, chair-elect. And then we've got some other people that are just absolutely unbelievable. One is Paul Pastusek, who ExxonMobil, he's got 45 patents. He's been involved in over 75 papers. Just, you know, these guys are rock stars. And then we have some people that are brand new to the SPE conference, some young people. So we got a fantastic mix all the way through. So the way this works is that we will have over 200 abstracts come in. And out of those 200 abstracts, we're going to pick a total of 36 front runners, and those are going to be split up into 6 different sessions. And the different people from our committee will split up and work with different authors to take their abstract, put it into an SPE paper. So we got 6 sections of 6 papers each. And then we'll have another 12 papers, 2 for each session, which will be a poster session. And those are alternates. If for whatever reason somebody can't make it, the problem with the visas. Again, this is an international group. In our group, we have, again, our chairman, the drilling chair is from Germany. Our chair-elect is from the Netherlands. We've got people from Indonesia, from Egypt, Nigeria, Philippines, Canada, Norway, Saudi Arabia. So this is a global event with a very big deal. So we're very excited about the opportunity that we have within the drilling group. And this year, for the first time, is a brand new group that will be presenting, and that's called the New Ventures Group. So that's going to be talking about the papers for the CCUS and the geothermal and some of that exciting development that we have in the energy transition area.
So how does one get to be a part of that, of these subcommittees? I know my personal story, but what's the proper way for somebody to be a part of it?
The vast majority, so we've got two people from the SPE that are our liaisons. And Cindy Madding is one of the people that I have had the extreme pleasure of working with for years and years and years. You could almost give her the title of professional cat herder, because she sent out an email today saying, hey, remember, the 19th of February is a deadline for the abstracts. You got to get them submitted. We got to get going. And she's been doing this for many years, and she's absolutely fantastic. And then working with Cindy is Carissa Bailey, who also is with an SPE as a specialty event specialist. And she is going to be handling the special sessions. And then Cindy is handling all the technicals. And again, we'll have thousands of abstracts that are coming in by the 19th, of which probably last year, I can't remember exactly, but I think we had 200, 250 or something like that abstracts that have to be reviewed. Everybody in the drilling group has to evaluate and grade them. But there is a portal on the SPE where you can go into the volunteer area and say, I am interested in getting involved in this group. That goes to Cindy. Cindy will pick committees and put them together, and it will have a wide range of people with gray hair like me, all the way to people that are new, and it may be their first paper or their first involvement that are earlier on in their career. We've got a fantastic mix of great people all the way through.
So once you're a part of that group, then what really takes place? What comes next? And I think that's essentially what's happening right now for us.
Yeah. So for us, the big group is that we will get all these different abstracts. Over 200 will come in, and Thomas has a great deal of work ahead of them. So all of those will get graded by each of the 20 people. They will give it a grade anywhere from 0 to 6. And in that, we will call and top rank all of the top abstracts, and then figure out, okay, how are we going to split up these sessions? Where do these papers go? What makes a cohesive section where we've got new technology, we've got important technology, we've got exchange of technology, and then we will build those sessions for those people. So as those abstracts come in, each of these 20 people are going to be grading them and ranking them. And then we summarize all of the rankings from all 20 people in this committee. And then the top will be selected. And then the ones that are bottom are encouraged to rewrite or change or somehow approach. And we can talk in a little bit about what it means and what the abstract process is. But that's kind of the physical process. You will write an abstract. You'll submit it to the SPE. You may say, oh, I think this is a drilling abstract. We review everything. There's some jockeying around. We had some discussions on some of the papers that you reviewed on the abstracts and said, well, maybe this would work better in this group. Maybe it worked better in this group. We got a lot of multidisciplinary people involved in the SPE. So we're coming up with a very big, huge international show. This is our annual it's a showcase. This is where it all happens. And New Orleans is absolutely fantastic place. So if you want to get involved, go to the SPE.org and go to the volunteer and submit a volunteer notice. And if you know people that are on the committees, go up to them and say, hey, how do I get involved? It's kind of the same way of writing papers. Go up to people and say, hey, you've got this interesting thing going on. You really ought to write a paper, write an abstract, or get involved. Go to your local sections, your section meetings, and ask and talk. And so the people, if you ask too many times, and all of a sudden you end up. And so sometimes it's kind of a mystery. I'm not quite sure how I ended up where I am, but it worked out, and I'm very grateful for that.
So what kind of requirements are there for somebody to be a part of this? Is it, do you need to have been in the industry for 15, 20, 30, 45 years, or have a specific technical skill set?
Excellent question. The number one thing that you need to be a member of the SPE. So join SPE, go to SPE.org, pay your dues. It's fantastic. I had the benefit of, I actually joined when I was a college at the University of Oklahoma as a student. I joined the student chapter, and those years count towards my lifetime service. So that's why I've been a member now for 44 years of the SPE. And once you're a member, then it is all driven by your own capacity of wanting to become involved and get involved. So you don't ever have needed to write a paper to be on the committee to learn more about the process, or maybe you've written papers and you want to get further ahead. So I encourage you to write papers. There's lots of areas that you could do that. We'll talk about some of the things on how to get an abstract noticed from the abstract portion. Again, only 25% of abstracts are accepted into the publication. So we've got a very high standards. Joe Shine last year from Saudi Aramco, who was the 2023 chair, did a fantastic job of making sure that we had high quality papers. We've added panel sessions, specialty sessions. It's a great time. It's the number one opportunity for exchange of information. You learn more during a coffee break, but you do have those opportunities to sit down and listen to these paper presentations, and most importantly, ask questions with these people.
Which I will say, as far as being able to ask questions, there was a paper this past year about laser drilling. And the individual, as soon as it was done, I was in his hip pocket until pretty much he was like, I have to go now. So yes, it is a great opportunity to be able to speak with people about their papers. Now, I want to jump back to, you said the paper's being graded on a scale from like 1 to 6.
Yes.
What does that mean for the people that are potentially going to be writing abstracts and or papers, to know what is that scale about?
So what the people need to know is they want to be able to write an abstract that will get noticed and be selected, grade higher than the others. So it's a relative scale out of all of these abstracts that are done. So they grade them anywhere from this is interesting, but maybe not worthy of being in the presentation, to this paper absolutely needs to be in the SPE technical program. This paper definitely needs to be here. And then where we get into all these issues is right around the borderline. There's a lot of them that are close. And then we've got to go through as a drilling committee and figure out, okay, which ones make sense to put with a session that provides a really good content, technical content that people will want to come in and sit down and listen. So you want a paper that's interesting, but you're also going to be selected by people, and everybody on this drilling group has a very, very wide background. You talked about what do you have to have. These are all members of the SPE. They're people that have had 40 years of experience and 45 patents and 75 papers underneath their belt. And there's people that have never written a paper. They've been in the industry for a few years and they wanted to get involved. All of them have a place in the SPE. We need them, especially our young people. We need people going through it where as things evolve down the time, 5 years, 10 years, those are the ones that are going to be running in our industry and running these shows and technical information. So we need a wide range of everyone, whereas older guys can mentor the younger people coming up and then get involved. And we need a wide range of everybody. I mean, this is not a U.S. conference. This is an international conference, and you can see it just by the composition of our committee.
I agree with the composition of our committee, a very vast group of individuals. So now jump into, let's talk about, so you said that there's potentially going to be 200 abstracts. What are the things that you're looking for in an abstract? What should people be thinking about when creating that abstract? For somebody who's never written a paper before, I would say a lot of people probably look at, writing a paper as, putting something into a medical journal where it's very technical and it's almost like a PhD thesis. What are your thoughts on that? What really needs to be able to happen for somebody to, create that abstract and take that first step towards writing a paper?
You made up a really good point. One of the things about the abstract is that the abstract is not the paper in itself. So there's certain things that really need to be contained within the abstract. So the first thing is it needs to be a very brief, precise statement of the problem or the issue. So back when I was in college, they had 3 statements on every problem that we did: a given, required, and solution. So we want to be able to state what the problem is or what we're trying to evaluate, a description of the research method, the major findings, and then most importantly, what are the implications of those findings? How are we going to change the way we do business? Because as engineers, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to go into any situation and say, based upon this, we can improve it, and here's how we can get improvement. Even when we have great success, we always look on how to optimize it. So there was something in there that was called the 4 C's of an abstract. The first one, that it's complete. So you want to have a complete abstract. We had a program specialty meeting last week, and they said, man, this abstract is really good, but it's missing some things. It's not complete. Eventually it may be there, but we just can't select it because the abstract is all we have to grade the first step on. So it's not an iteration back and forth. After it gets to the drilling committee and you're going from an abstract to the paper, there's a lot of interaction, a lot of work back and forth between the groups. But the first one is we're judging it solely on the abstract. So it needs to be complete. It needs to be concise, no excess wordiness. Again, this is not the paper itself. Don't have unnecessary information. Have what it takes, almost that executive summary. You're trying to get your boss's interest within a few seconds of saying, yep, you need to keep on reading and you need to select me as a paper. The third C is clear. Is it readable? Does it make sense? Is it grammatically correct? Is it not too jargon laden? You know, as drilling engineers, we have a tendency to use a lot of jargon and a lot of abbreviations. And so this is a general information, multidisciplinary. So we need to stay away from just the heavy jargon as we do these. And then it needs to be cohesive. It needs to flow smoothly from one end to the other. So those are the 4 C's. It needs to be complete. It needs to be concise, needs to be clear, and it needs to be cohesive. And I've added 3 more C's onto that. So the first one is collaboration. So collaboration is really important. You're not in this on yourself. You should go out and find other people that have similar and get them to work with you on that paper. The best papers are generally have a group of 2 or 3 or 4. There is a limit on how many people you can bring in, but generally you want that cross information and a group of people working together on these papers to bring it together. This is not a sales paper. You know, this is not about promoting your product with your product name and riddled through in there. That's a different paper. You can write white papers and put them on your LinkedIn or your website or anything else. This is about technical collaboration in the industry, advancing the technology. So the other C I'll throw in there is coachable. When these young engineers, and even these old engineers, if you've not written a paper, be coachable. Send that out to a bunch of people. You know, Paul Pastrick has reviewed hundreds of abstracts, and he can give a tremendous amount of feedback to those people. Well, the same, all these people have written them. Send that to them. Say, what is your feedback? But be coachable. Listen to what they're saying. Make those changes. Make those iterations. Because once it's submitted, that's it. That's all we have to judge it by. And then the last C I'll throw out there is comfort zone. The whole purpose of these not the whole purpose is a technical exchange, but part of this is step outside of your comfort zone. There's nothing about being in your comfort zone or staying in your comfort zone that inhibits your growth as an engineer. So if you step out your side of your comfort zone, if you present one of these papers, if you write these abstracts, if you jump in and you volunteer as part of these committees, you will grow. And part of that growth is because you stepped outside of your comfort zone. So be coachable, you know, collaborate and step outside your comfort zone. That's how you grow as an engineer. And it's difficult. It's not easy, but that's how you get to the next point where you can learn to better speak in public and answer questions. And hopefully in another 10 or 15 years, I'll be able to do that a little bit better. It's continual work.
Well, tell us about your journey with it. What was it? I mean, obviously you've written some papers yourself and co-authored some.
Yes.
What was your first experience in your journey through, the land of SPE technical papers?
So my very first paper was a student paper contest that the Society of Petroleum Engineers organizes. Now they have the SPE student paper contest as part of the ATCE, along with a thing called the Petro Bowl. But before all of that, we had a separate SPE student section. And I worked with Dr. Ed Blick and wrote a paper on how long you have before you get stuck pipe based upon barite falling out of your drill string if you lost power on the rig or something like that. So that was my very first paper back in 1982, and I was excited to write that. And I've had the great pleasure of being a co-author on various other papers. And you may say to yourself, well, how do I know what to write? Sometimes you're so close to the subject, you think, oh, this isn't that interesting. And other people may say, wow, what you're saying is kind of interesting. How about you write a paper on that? And I'll give you a good example, which covers most of those C's that we just talked about. I've had the opportunity of being a guest lecturer at several different universities around the world, at Robert Gordon's University, several universities in the United States, and talk about casing design and tubing analysis and kind of the history. When I started out in college, we were using a textbook that was written in the 1960s by Kraft, Holden, and Graves. And then Ed Burgoyne's book, the drilling book, didn't come out till 1984, but it kind of discounted modern needs for HPHT wells and things like that. They said you can ignore temperatures. And it wasn't until Dr. Rob Mitchell wrote his book in 2006 that really talked about the importance of thermal work. But we knew in 1990, when we started having failures due to annular pressure buildup in the annulus due to these high volume gas wells, subsea wells that you couldn't access the annulus and they would collapse, how important that was. So when I would go into these discussions and the history with these students in various places, they said, gosh, it would be really cool to have all this in one area. Why don't you write a paper? So I got with several other people and said, let's write a paper called The History, Evolution, and Future of Casing Design Theory and Practice. There was a lot of people involved. It was a tremendous amount of collaboration. Albert McSpadden with AATCE, Simon Glover, Ruggiero Trevisan. We got feedback from other people, Isa Khalil and Ollie Coker. And so we wrote this full history of where everything's gone all the way from the 1960 type of sputter wells or small wells, 10 barrel per day wells, the old Lufkin pump jack going up and down, all the way to the modern wells. And so that became a very good foundation paper. And what made it good was the collaboration of all these people's inputs and everything else. So you think, oh, well, that's a boring subject. That's just a history of it. But it really turned out great. And now we've been able to advance it even further on a paper dealing with carbon capture and CCUS tubing stress analysis on a paper that we've been working with Harbor Energy. So we're very excited about that. So stuff that you do in your day-to-day, talk to people, what would make an interesting paper? Case histories are always good. You know, it's one thing to take a case history where you come out on top and you do a really good job. It's something else when you can present a paper saying, you know what, things didn't go as well as we wanted, but we've learned from it. We've got another paper and this is it. So a really good paper is where you can show that you've learned from your mistakes. A great paper allows other people to learn from your mistakes. And so it's not always the good that happens. You know, we need to cover the good, bad, and the ugly. And sometimes management doesn't like the ugly showing up. Now, each of these papers that are written, you've got to get approval. So just because the 19th is the deadline for the abstract, these engineers need to be talking to their drilling supervisors and the people up the food chain to get approval for these abstracts, because they're going to have approval to write the papers, because the copyright will belong to the Society of Petroleum Engineers, end up on One Petro, Petrolink, and an opportunity for a lot of people to see these papers.
So what's been your experience after having the paper accepted and presented? How much does that change the course of your career and the things that happen going forward?
A tremendous amount. The history paper that I discussed, because of that, I ended up presenting at quite a few more universities, had a chance to do SPE talks, AADE lectures. And I think that's how I ended up here, is people saw that paper, I got involved, and they said, okay, here's a person who's wanting to get involved. Let's give him a shot until he screws it up. And that's how I got here. You know, it's kind of a mystery. We had that discussion internally with the drilling group with Jan Breckel. He says, you know, I'm the chair elect. How did I get there? You know, what is that process? And so he contacted back Cindy, and Cindy gave that process where you first, you know, submit, and then the SPE pulls people. They're asking other people who would be good. As a drilling committee, we were asked to take a look at the people in the committee on who we would target to be succession up the food chain later that would make a good chair elect or drilling chair or just a committee person. It's a lot of work. You got over 200 abstracts. And as you know, we've had these discussions before. You can't do that all in one sitting. You've got to keep up with them and stay with them. And it's a tremendous amount of work from the drilling committee side. So I highly encourage you, don't wait till February 19th to submit it, because you got all these people looking at it in a very short time. The earlier you submit your abstract, the longer people have to look at it.
Very true. Very true. So what are some other highlights for you personally that you've had within, either attending SPE events or being a part of some of these SPE papers?
So New Orleans is a fantastic place to have a conference, and the New Orleans conference, the very first one I attended in 1982, changed my life forever. I was the student chapter president. Now you got to remember, in the time frame in the oil field, you could write your resume on a piece of toilet paper and get 10 job offers in 1980 and 1981. And in 1982, the bottom fell out. And so a lot of the universities went back and said, okay, we need to get involved. We need to present ourselves more into the industry. So several student sections decided that they would start showing up, that we would talk to people about attending the SPE. This was long before Google. This was really almost before fax machines and computers and all this other stuff. And so we wanted to go and network. So we decided that we would take a group of students from the University of Oklahoma, and I walked out of Felger Hall, which is the engineering building, and this cute young woman walked up to me and she said, "Are you John Howard, and are you putting together a group to go to the SPE-ATCE in New Orleans? I'm interested in attending." And she walked up to Felger Hall, and I thought, man, the SPE, this is pretty good. I'm an engineering geek, and here this person came up to me, and again, that changed my life forever. This summer will be our 40th wedding anniversary. We have 3 boys, the oldest which has been an SPE member for over a decade, and 6 grandkids. So SPE can change your life. Get involved, write a paper, come to it. You never know who you're going to meet. And then I also met one of my other heroes in the SPE New Orleans. So in 1986, by that time I was working as an offshore drilling engineer with Tenneco Oil Company. And 86 was rough. In 1983, only a third of my class got jobs, and half of those got laid off in 86. So it was real important to get involved technically, because if you want to go to these conferences, the best way to have your manager approve you to attend a conference is because you're presenting a paper. So this increases your odds of going to these conferences a tremendous amount if you write a paper. And I had mentioned the student paper contest. My advisor was Ed Blick. And so Dr. Blick was presenting a paper, and I wanted to go to his paper. Now, this is when you had the old view graphs, an overhead projector, and you'd take the different transparencies. And he was talking about the Lubinsky equations. Now, Lubinsky is one of the godfathers of engineering. He's the one that came up with all the buckling routines and everything else. And Ed's talking about the different equations, and he mentions Lubinsky equations. And then you go to the question and answer session, and this little frail guy gets up in the back of the room and comes up to the microphone and says, "My name is Arthur Lubinsky, and I have a question." And Dr. Blick's face went white, and he was able to answer the questions. But here, this guy, this godfather of all these equations in engineering that I've been studying for years, and I had a chance to go up and meet him and shake his hand and talk to him, and just happenstance, 8 years later, I'm working for Intertech, and we're doing a joint industry project on fatigue, and we have a project, and we get Arthur Lubinsky as part of that project. Arthur lived just a few miles from my parents in Tulsa. So every time I would go home, my wife and I would be able to go over and visit with Arthur and his wife. And he was a phenomenal individual. He fought in the Polish resistance of World War II, just a really great guy. And we co-authored a paper together, which means he wrote the paper and I got to present it. But really a fantastic, and that's the other thing I'll put out. From you getting involved in the SPE, you will meet people that are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, we've got the SPE, our technical board of advisors for ATCE are all been involved in the SPE for a very long time. Dr. Rob Mitchell, who's written textbooks and papers, Dr. Afif Halal, Dr. Franz Klaver. If you've ever heard of a Klaver-Tamano equation, who better to go talk to about that equation than Dr. Franz Klaver, and all kind of people, and meeting other people, heroes in the industry. John Thorogood, who's been involved 50 years as an SPE member on all of these activities. So it's a great opportunity to meet other people that may be outside of your immediate discipline or inside your discipline, that you can gain a tremendous amount of knowledge and information and collaboration.
All right. So out of all of these, what has been your favorite SPE paper?
Wow. I'd like to say that it hadn't been written yet. That's what I'm really hoping. At some point in time, I will be able to be involved in a paper that changes the world. But the issue is, you don't have to write a paper that changes the world. So probably the one that had the biggest impact of me was the history and evolution of casing design theory and practice. Because I thought, oh, this is kind of a boring paper. And if you're a specialist in it, it seems so basic. But for most people who really don't know where this history has come from or why or how, you got to remember, when we started casing and tubing analysis and the designs, these were all nomographs. We didn't even have calculators back then. We had slide rules. So I was at that transition of going from a slide rule to a calculator. And I was part of the Dean Student Advisory Committee deciding, well, are we going to require programmable calculators as part of our curriculum? This was before personal computers and everything else. So probably that transition of that history, showing the full gap, talking about the HP41CX and the Petroleum pack. I had people come up to me afterwards and say, thank you so much for that paper. I still have my HP41 and I still have this, or I still have that, or I started out with the slide rule, or, so that one was really interesting, that I didn't expect it to have the connection with everybody that it did. And I've been able to travel around the world and talk about that paper. So that's been good. That's probably been the biggest one so far, but hopefully maybe you and I get together and write a paper on how to write papers or something. I don't know. Hopefully the biggest impact is still yet to come. Hopefully I've got more to give back to the industry.
All right. So anybody that's been watching this interview or watched last year's, what would be your one last piece of advice to them to be able to, take that final step into writing the paper, or I should say, submitting an abstract?
I would probably say the seventh C that I mentioned: step outside your comfort zone, take a risk, try it, go and get other people to take a look at it, collaborate with them, find the people to set it up, but take that step and don't worry whether it's accepted or not. Do your best. You want to make it concise, you want to make it good, but you want to take that step. And it's going to be outside your comfort zone. And the best way to do it is to write it, see how it goes, and then afterwards try to follow up. Well, if this didn't get selected, what could I do to improve that to get it selected next time? Maybe it's a different topic. Maybe it's just a rewrite of that material or something like that. And again, this is the 100th anniversary. We've had so much stuff going on in the last 100 years. We've had almost a technology revolution just in the last 5 years. I mean, I remember when fracking's been around for a long time, but I remember when horizontal drilling and fracking and shale, which we used to think shale was a cap rock, our fracking the shale, that was considered revolutionary. Now we've got all kind of things that are going on, phenomenal work with geothermal wells, with CCUS. In 1924, so 100 years ago, 1924, we had our very first presidential radio broadcast. Kleenex and Band-Aid just started getting mass produced. The very first basic television was made. Native Americans were given full citizenship. That was only 100 years ago. Seismic exploration in the Gulf of Mexico was 1 year old, started the previous year. And we were still 10 years away from being offshore exploration. There was a study done by the US government in 1920 after we had reached 450 billion barrels of production and said, we will run out of oil in less than 10 years. So here's our 100th anniversary, when we were supposed to run out of oil over 90 years ago. We're celebrating technology, innovation, collaboration on a multidisciplinary level. It's not just drilling, it's not just production, it's not just reservoir. It's all of us working together to come up with something that's good. And that same approach is with the papers. Have that paper, have that multidisciplinary, it may be about drilling bits. Tell you what, man, there's been so much revolution in drilling bits in the last 2 years with the Forge project and the geothermal and the advancements that it's made. It's just super exciting to see everything that has gone on and the industry coming out of that COVID environment back to getting it turning to the right.
I don't think we could end the show any better than that. That was a phenomenal wrap up there.
Hopefully I answered your questions as I went through.
I'm blown away by that. I mean, 100 years ago, not very often you think about, okay, what was happening 100 years ago? And it's kind of a lot of startling statements in there. The fact that, we're still 10 years away from doing anything offshore, and that, how far was it? 10 years into the future, we're going to run out of oil,
90 years ago, we were supposed to be out of oil.
Yeah. And I fortunately was a part of a team that brought a well online yesterday and started producing it. So yeah, we have not run out yet. I want to be able to throw in just one other thing as far as for somebody, if they're not ready to be able to write their first abstract or start putting together a paper, I would say go and attend the SPE-ATCE events, or not even just the ATCE event, any of the other events where papers are being presented. Find a couple of topics that you're interested in. Like you said, we're going to have 6 sessions with 6 papers each and 12 alternate and poster sessions. Go attend some of those events, go listen to the papers, talk to the people afterwards, and then potentially ask them, like, okay, I saw the end product, I saw the presentation, read the paper. Can I see the abstract that you wrote that set it up? Because obviously it was the abstract that got approved so that they could write it. So yes, get outside of your comfort zone, but also if you're still not ready yet, at least go attend and go watch and see some of the other stuff that these people have put a lot of time and effort and energy into.
Absolutely.
To be able to help educate the rest of us. So,
and as an SPE member, you have access to those. And so one of the things that's always interesting is you read some papers and you go, wow, I could have written this. I could have done something like this, but you didn't take that effort. So get outside your comfort zone, write that abstract, submit it. It's well worthwhile, the activity, and it will advance your career. You may or may not meet your wife as part of the SPE, but you got a chance that will change your life through the SPE involvement. Meet people like an Arthur Levinsky or all these other people that's just been a blessing and an improvement to my career because of those interactions through the SPE.
What better thing to do than to meet your future wife at an SPE event? I mean,
there you go.
If there's any reason to be able to write a paper, it's to be able to meet your significant other at an SPE event. I mean, I'm not saying it's a dating event, but obviously things have happened because of it. So, and I'm willing to guess that, John, you're not the only one. So, so John, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Really, really do appreciate it. It's been absolutely amazing to be able to learn through all this, and hopefully everybody implements or can take part in the 4 C's plus your 3 C's. So the 7 C's, 7 C's. All right. And to be able to put a paper out there. And I look forward to, because I am one of the graders, I look forward to seeing your paper and being able to give it a grade. So with that, we've got to be able to give away some stuff here at the end of the show. So let's do a drawing real quick. Let's see. Hopefully it's not Tracy. She's sitting here in the room, even though it would make it cheaper to send out. And our winner is Eric.
There you go. Congratulations, Eric.
Love it when Eric's one of the, I would say he's the #1 fan of the show. He's always watching, always taking part. So Eric, reach out to me. I do appreciate you.
So I saw John's name popped up on there in that scroll, John DeWart. So he's another one of these guys that have been around all the way through the SPE for years. I had the chance to sit and have a happy hour with him when we were stuck at a hotel in Lagos, Nigeria, probably over a decade ago. And this is a guy that has given tremendously back to the industry, him and John Thorogood and some of these other people. So there's a lot of mentors out there that you can go approach and say, hey, read this abstract. How can I improve it? How can I get something submitted? And how do I get involved in the SPE? I started out giving tours to the high school groups at these SPEs through the STEM program. So get involved. It's a lot of fun. You don't have to kill the world with the paper.
I think here's the slogan now: the 7 C's, an adventure in SPE. So there we go. That might be it. So that was the comment there from Robert Gales. John, like I said, thank you so much for being here on the show. Thank you so much to AI Driller for sponsoring today's show. Anybody out there watching, give them a look at some of the cool stuff that they're doing. I sat through a presentation they had the other day. Absolutely amazing technology, really good stuff. John, I look forward to speaking with you soon. I know we've got plenty of meetings to be able to go through and reading all of the presentations. For everybody else out there, if you guys have any questions about submitting SPE paper, reach out to either one of us. John's probably better at answering the questions, but I can definitely help get you in contact or potentially try to be able to answer it myself. That's it for me this week. For this week's show, stay tuned for the rest of the year. We're going to have some amazing shows here on the Vitor Locksmith Show. And as always, know your industry.
Thank you.